Hello guys, you're welcome to my channel. And today I am going to teach you about subnetting. Now, not just subnetting, not just teaching you a difference between IP addresses, subnet, network ID, broadcast ID, or whatever, but I'm going to put you in a situation where you are in a real life situation of using this subnet. Now, it could be that you are in an interview or that you could just be starting a new job. Now, the situation is that your company is opening a new branch office. Now, in this branch office, they are hosting more than 600 hosts or client computers. And now they have just called you, engineer or whatever your name is, and they are asking you to please come subnet this network for us. We have 600 users and we want you to please help us come do subnetting. Now, how do you go about it? What do you need to know? Now, this video is going to be short and brief and direct to the point, and I'm going to assume that you are already having some knowledge on what subnet mask is, what are IP, what are classes, what are the formulas to calculate the hosts and the subnet for a network. But if not a problem. You will be seeing videos. You just subscribe to my channel and you will be seeing videos of each of these, how to, what formulas are used to calculate for hosts and subnets in a network, and how to classify IP addresses, and what are subnet, what are mask, what are network ID, and what are broadcast ID. All of these you would see in my video when you subscribe. Now let's start by sharing our whiteboard. Now, as I already mentioned, this is a situation here. Now, we've got the situation. Now, the situation is that your company needs to host 600 computers on their new branch or in their new branch. Sorry for the English office. And they're asking you to submit for for these host users or computers for 600. Now, needed be that you already got you've got your ISP. ISP providers have, of course, given you your sub gateway. Your gateway provider has given you an IP address of 192, which of course is an external IP address. 192.168.1.1, and of course this falls under the class C IP address. Now, if you look up here, I will just pen out the IP address classes. Now you have class A. This is just for some knowledge. If, as I already mentioned, if you do not have the knowledge or this basic knowledge, don't worry. Just subscribe to my channel and more videos are definitely going to hit on your notifications telling you when there's new videos. Of course, in my other videos, I've already explained classes and formulas and what are the difference between subnet and broadcast and network and all of this, which will make this video easy for you. Now I'm going straight to the real life situation. Now you've got this, and let's assume, of course, you have a router and say R1. Now what your work is to do now is to subnet these routers into whatever subnet that you have, whatever subnet, and this subnet would give you these 600 client computers. We do not know how you want to do this. Now, this is what you are expected to do. This is what the router will do for you by subnetting this an IP address that would work with this ISP provider and that would supply all of these 600 clients computers on this new network. Now let's start by saying, for example, you decide to choose an IP address, say 148. We decide to start. Let's change the color. First, let's erase this. So make it red. So now let's assume you decide to choose you decide to choose an IP address, say, let's say 148.150.10.2. Now, if you look at this IP address, obviously, and you have this IP address, which obviously it's, as we see from these classes, the IP address is on a class B, as we can see. Now, we choose a subnet mask, or the subnet mask, as we know, for a class B is that the second octet are always filled, which means that we are going to have, for the subnet mask, 255.255.255, or the first two are filled for this, for a class B. But for a class D, a class C, we have the first three octet. So which means that for a class B, we have 16 bits for this class B. Now, this is just a small explanation of what I've already shown in my other video. Now, let's assume now you've got these, let's take off this one again. Now you've got this subnet mask. Sorry for that. Now you've got this subnet mask dot, let's say 220, let's say or we could just say 255.0. Now, this is what we have for the subnet mask. Now, in this situation, we have the first octet filled, bit filled with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dot 0, 0, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, this is what our subnet mask is showing now from this IP address. Now, in this situation, all zeros here, all zeros gives us the host numbers. It gives us the number of hosts that would be when we use this IP address and the subnet mask. Now, it will tell us how many hosts we will have in this situation. And now, because it is a class B, now for a class B, this guy is free for us, because the class B is only for a 16 bit, which covers the first two octet. Now, this 255 is totally free for us. Now, which means that this 255.1111 into 8 gives us the subnet. Now, it means that this gives us subnet, and this gives us the host in this network. Now what this simply does is that, remember, our situation is that we are trying to subnet 600 host computers. And we've got this IP address that we want to configure with our routers to subnet into these 600 host computers. Now, alongside with this IP address and the subnet mask of 255, which is a class B IP address with 255.255.255.0. Now, you must remember something that, let's put this point here. Now, do not forget that we already have this knowledge here that for a class A IP can only accommodate, or not can only, can accommodate 16 million hosts. Let's bring it a little further. Now we want to have this basic knowledge. Now, why for a class B can host up to 64,000. And a class C can host just 256 or 56 hosts. Now this is what we are dealing with. Now these two we have here, these two tables can really guide us on subnetting. Now because now we are dealing with 600 host computers, we are dealing to subnet 600 hosts. Now, no doubt, if we decide to use a class C IP address, this we could do by also subnetting. However, we are dealing with 600 hosts, but this can only give us a 256 hosts. But now we've got a class B IP address with subnet mask, which can give us more than 64,000 hosts. But indeed, remember, in IT, we are not just only providing security and fluency of the whole bandwidth, but we are also managers. We want to manage this bandwidth. And so when you subnet with this IP address for looking for just 600 hosts, and with this class B, it's likely going to give us 64,000. Then what are we using 64,000 hosts to do in a network? That doesn't really go. So now here comes the skill of subnetting, where we apply this subnetting. Now let's start now. We are back to this situation where we have let's go back to the pen, where we have this guy 255.255.255.0. Now we already said that subnets are on this class B are this third octet, because the class B is only covering the first two octet, which is 16 bit. Now the third bit is the third bit and the fourth bit tells us the subnet and the host. But in between this third and fourth octet, we will get our how many subnets will be on this network and how many hosts we will get. Now, but one, let's put this point here so that we don't forget. One bit tells us how many subnets. While 0 bits tells us how many hosts that we should have. Now, we have a simple formula for calculating this subnet. Now, for subnet, let's come this way. It is better we change this color this time. Now we change it to, let's just make it popular. Now, for subnet, we have for subnet, we have the formula called 2 to the power of numbers of subnet bits. Now, this is the formula to know the number of subnets that will be on a network. Why, on the other hand, for hosts, the formula is 2 to the power of numbers of host bits, minus 2. Now, this 2 here, why we are minusing this 2 from this formula is that these 2 are reserved for the network ID and the broadcast ID. This is why the 2 are always subtracted from the host bit or from the host formula. Now, with this formula, how then can we calculate from this IP address and the subnet mask how many subnets we would likely have? Now, when we use this formula, we have 2 now to the power of number of subnet bits. Now, in this situation, we have how many subnets? One do we have? We have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because every octet is 8 bits. Now, it means that we are going to have to the power of 8. Now, this is equal to 2 to the power of 8 is equal to, if you do, of course, you definitely need a calculator. Let's punch that. If we say 2 multiplied by 8, this will give us 16. Um, I'm sorry, 2 multiplied by 3 is already 8, then 8 times 2 again is 16. So which means that we are going to have 16 subnets, which is quite very nice and very interesting. That with this IP address and subnet mask, we would get 16 subnets in this network. Now, we are so concerned also about the host. How many hosts are we likely, or are we possibly going to get in this net, in this with this, using this IP and subnet mask? Now let's do again the calculation. Now this time 2 to the power. Remember that we are dealing with 8 bits here. And now this 8-bit will be also again to the power of 8 minus 2. Now it means that this would be equal to, again, 16 minus 2, which is 14, which means we are going to have 14 hosts in this network, which this is not what we want. This is not our goal. We want 600. Now, how do we then make this possible? Now, we could decide to resolve our subnet. We could decide to change this subnet. Now, let us take away this old subnet. Now, let's do some manipulation here. When we do some manipulation, let's put, again, for example, let's change this 255 to 2. Let's change it to 2, or let's make it 192. Let's make it 192 for this whole. I just erase all this for now. Now, and now when we make this guy, we're going to delete, we're going to erase that. Okay, good. So now let's make this guy 192.0. Now we've just changed the subnet mask. Of course, it's still a class B IP address. We've just changed the subnet mask to 192. Now, under 192, of course, this is also explained in my other videos if you've watched it, where we have how this whole octet starts. We have 128, we have 64, we have 32, we have 16, we have 8, we have 4, we have 2, we have 1. I hope this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Now, what we are seeing here now is, if you have not, you should watch my other video because I explained fully how these octets, how these bits are used to derive this bits, how this bits are used to derive these binaries. Now we have 192. Now we look at what makes up 192 from this bit or octet. Now we have 128 plus 64. 128 plus 64, what should that be? Now, if we do maths of 128 plus 64, 128 plus 64 is going to give us, let's see, I don't want to break my head too much. It's going to give us exactly 192. So it's giving us 192. So which means that these first two becomes 1 1. So in this situation, our binary, let's erase this. Let's erase this again. Our binary for this new subnet mask becomes 1 1 0 2, that's 4 5 6 7 8 dot the rest we have. So let's just erase all of these and have our new. So we already know that we are not dealing with this two. So we are dealing with just this last two because we are dealing with a class B IP address. Now we are going to have in this situation our new bit for this IP would be 1 1 for the subnet mask, 0 0 dot 0, that is plus 8 zeros. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Good. Now why is this so? Of course, more explanation is given on my other videos. Please watch that. Why so? Because here we have 128 plus 64 makes up 192. And we have on this subnet mask 192. So which means here will be 1, here will be 1, and the others here would be 0. This is how we got this bit. Now, again, remember from our formula, we had this formula for subnet mask and we have this for host. Now, all 0 bits are for host. Now, which means that how many 0 bits do we have now? To calculate for the number of hosts we would have in this network with this IP address and subnet mask means that we have 8 already, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we have 14. So if we do again the max and say 2 to the power of 14 minus 2 is equal to, let's see what we would definitely have in this situation. So when we do 2 to the power of 14, that is 16,000. We have 16,384, which is minus 2 will give us 82. We just make it 82. Now it means that with this new subnet mask, we would get 16,382 hosts. Well, that we did some good job. We are able to break the number of hosts from this 64,000, from the 64,000 of a class B IP address and subnet mask to 16 with some manipulations. However, we could still bring this down because our goal is just 600 hosts. We are looking for 600 hosts. Now, what do we do in the situation? We are looking for 600 hosts, but 16,000 is still too much. The margin are still too high. So we can again do some manipulation on the subnet mask. Let's try to resolve something with the subnet mask again. Now let's try again this time. Let's erase this guy. Let's erase this guy and get a new subnet mask. Let's erase. Now, let's assume we just used 192. Now let's assume now that we used 128.64 gave us 192. Now let's assume we use 148. 248. Now let's increase our subnet to 248, for example, dot 0. Now it means that 248, now let's see where 248, what 248 would give us here. We have 128, 192. Now 192 plus this will be, that's like, I think I'm very poor with math. Of course, you're allowed to use calculator. This is not an exam. 64 plus 32 would give us 224. 224 plus 16 would give us 240. 240 plus 8 will give us 248. Very perfect. Now, it means that from here to this place, all give us 248. Now, it means that the whole of 1 here, here, here to here will be 1. And the remaining will be zeros. Now, it means our new bit for this subnet mask will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dot again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This will be our new bit for this mask. Now this time we have how many 0 bits? We have 8 plus 9, 10, 11. 11 0 bits to calculate for our host. Now remember, our subnet, to calculate for the number of subnet, was 2 to the power of 1 bit. How many 1 bits do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 1 bit, which is 2 to the power of 5. And 2 to the power of 5, as I know, is 32. So which means we can have 32 subnets, which is also a nice one in this IP. Now let's look at our host. We are also so concerned with our hosts. How many hosts are we going to have? Now with this formula, 2 again, now this time we have 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 minus 2. Now if we do this, 2 to the power of 11, let's go again. Let's punch our calculators. We say 2 to the power of 11. How many would that be? That will be 20,000. Oh, that will be 2,048. That will be 2,048, which means we have 2,046. Yes, by just some little manipulation, we were able to reduce again our previous 6,000 hosts into 2,000 with just some small manipulation. Now, if we again compare 2,000 to 600, it is still on the high side because we still have some number of hosts here that we can still take out because we have 248 against 255. Now, if we decide now to add this guy to it, 248 plus 4, for example, that is already 252. 252 plus 2, that will be 254. 254. That's perfect. So if we say, okay, let's remove everything, let's clean up everything. Let's do the last. I think we are almost there. Almost resolved this whole subnet into 600. Now, let's again this time change our subnet. Let's change again our subnet to 2, as we just mentioned, 254.0. Now, from here, we just imagine that This was 248, this was 252, and this was 254. So we have, at this time, all of these are used, leaving just 10 for us. Now let's try if that works. Now, if we do that, we are not going to get 600 hosts, but we are going to get less than 600 hosts, I guess. Let's try that per se. Now, again, we are going to, from this, we have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. We have 7, 1 plus, we have 7, 1 plus 1, 0 plus another 8 zeros. Now, let's just try this host. Now, if we try to calculate for host 2, we have this time 9. We have 9 minus 2. Now, if we do this, 2 to the power of 9, what would 2 to the power of 9 give us? Now, 2 to the power of 9 should give us, I think, something less than our 600 hosts that we're looking for. 2 to the power of 9 is 512. So which means the total host we will get here will be 510, which is below our host. So which means our figure, to get the 600 hosts, we should be between this guy. So which means that if we again take out 2 from this guy, we'll have 252. 252. Of course, this was quite slow because of those of us who are trying to learn subnetting. In a real life situation, this takes me periodically less than 5 minutes to resolve all of this. However, because of clarity, it is good that we explain the situation better. Now, if we do that, let's just do our last subnetting for this day. Now, if we do this, it means that excuse me. Okay, good. It means that our new, because now we are only now concerned with from this place to this place. Now we are leaving 2 and 1. So it means that we have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 plus 1 and 2 zeros and 8 of zeros. Now, which means we have 10 zeros, which if we say again and take this 9 into 10 minus 2, now let's see what 10 to the power of, let's see what that gives us. 10 to the power of 2, 10 to the power of 2 gives us, I think, around 1,000. Our subnet should be around 1,000 or so. Let's see, 2 to the power of 10. We get 1,024, which means 1,020, 1,022. Now, which means we have from this new network 1,022 hosts, which is very good. This is the most managing resource that we could find using our subnet mask. So don't forget, how many subnets are we going to have? We have 2 to the power of 10. We are going to have 1,024. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I was that's my error. So I was asking, in this situation, how many subnets are we going to have in this network? Now remember, for this situation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 ones. Then it means our subnet will be 2 to the power of 6, which will give us, I think that will be 64. That will be 64 if I'm correct. Yes. 2 to the power of 6 is 64. Very correct. I wanted to be sure. So we're going to have 64 subnets on this network and 122 host computers. Now, at the end of the day, we have been able, with just understanding the IP classes and with subnet mask and the range of each classes, we are able to solve the problem of subnetting for subnetting to 600 host computers in this network. Now, when we do this, it means that this is how our solution will be. Now, let's just erase the whole board. Now, this means that for this network that we've gotten this ISP provider giving us our router and our subnet. It means that our IP, as we already know, would be, I don't remember if this is what I used, 148.150.10.0. Now, our subnet would be 255.255.252.0. Now, when we use these, it means that our DHCP, our DHCP can be able to administer IP or assign, our DHCP can be able to assign an IP address of 1,022 IP addresses to these host computers. Of course, our intention is just 600 hosts. And so with this subnet we've just been able to do, it means that we can be able to host 64 subnets in this network and have 1,022 host computers. Of course, at the end of the day, the DHCP only assigns 600 to this network. Of course, remembering that reserving 2 for this network ID and also the broadcast ID. Now, this is all about subnetting. Well, if you have a question on what I have done, no problem. Please leave it in the comment section below, and I definitely would answer. And do not forget to understand more on IP, classes, mask, all of this when it comes to subnetting of what we've done. If it looks so strange to you, do not forget to watch my previous videos or my videos that would come after this on how to identify classes of IPs and also what are subnet masks and all of that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please stay safe and have a nice time. Thanks for joining.